Picture two people, same city, same zip code, similar jobs, both in their mid-30s, both salaried, both with a 401k they contribute to. The first earns $91,000 a year. Their phone has 7 banking and budgeting apps installed. Their email has 42 active subscriptions. They checked once when this became a problem, got overwhelmed, and closed the tab. They have 3 credit cards, each tracked loosely, a savings account that's technically funded but regularly raided when something comes up. They open their banking app on Sunday nights with a specific kind of dread. Not panic, just a quiet, persistent anxiety that the numbers never quite make sense. The second person earns $54,000 a year, 2 accounts, 1 card, subscriptions on a shared note reviewed every quarter. They open their banking app on Sunday nights too, without dread. The person earning 40% less has 6 months of expenses saved and invests 18% of every paycheck. Same city, opposite financial experience. This isn't a story about income, it's a story about complexity. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the 12 rules that separate the first financial life from the second. Think of them as default settings, not dogma, designed for salaried households running a standard life. If your situation is more complex, adopt them. But most people aren't running a complex financial life, they're running a simple one badly. Before the rules, one thing worth naming. Structural constraints are real. Low income and high housing costs are not solved by simplification, but complexity amplifies those constraints. It takes a difficult situation and layers chaos on top. According to the American Psychological Association's 2023 Stress in America report, 77% of Americans name money as a significant stressor, and that figure holds across income brackets well into 6 figures. The anxiety is not purely a scarcity problem, it's also an architecture problem. These rules address the architecture. Rule 1. 1 account for spending, 1 for saving. Not 5, not 8. 2. Every account you add is another balance to mentally track, another place a charge can quietly hit and go unnoticed for weeks. Complexity isn't organization, it's camouflage for waste. The person in the first scenario had 7 apps open because they had too many places for money to hide. Rule 2. Automate every transfer within 24 hours of payday. Savings contribution, investment deposit, rent, all of it moves before your brain registers the money as available. Psychologist Roy Baumeister's research on decision fatigue, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, established that willpower depletes with every decision made. Every financial choice you eliminate from your daily routine preserves that capacity for something else. Automation isn't laziness, it's decision hygiene. Rule 3. 1 primary credit card, paid in full every month, and 1 backup you never actually use. Not a card for travel points, a card for groceries, a card for online purchases. 1 primary card for your daily life. The reward optimization game costs more in tracking overhead and missed payment risk than it returns in air miles for most people. The backup card has 1 job: contingency exit if your primary is lost, flagged for fraud, or fails while you're traveling. It is not a spending instrument, it lives in a drawer. Rule 4. Audit your subscriptions every 90 days. According to a 2022 study by C+R Research, the average American underestimates their monthly subscription spending by $133. That's not a budgeting failure, it's a visibility failure. Those 42 subscriptions in the first scenario, roughly $180 a month in charges the person couldn't name without going looking. Set a calendar reminder, pull every recurring charge, kill anything you didn't consciously choose in the last quarter. Rule 5. Know your floor number, not your salary, your floor, the minimum your life costs per month if nothing is optional. Rent, utilities, groceries, transport, insurance, that number is the baseline your income has to clear before you accumulate anything. Most people have never calculated it precisely. That imprecision is exactly where the anxiety lives. Name it, write it down. The actual figure is almost always less frightening than the vague dread of not knowing it. Rule 6. Build 3 months of floor expenses as your minimum viable buffer, with 1 exception first. If your employer matches retirement contributions, capture that match before anything else. It's a guaranteed immediate return you can't recover once the payroll period closes. After that, every surplus goes toward the floor fund until it hits 3 months, not the 6 to 12 months cited in financial planning literature for ideal households. 3. Enough runway that a job loss doesn't immediately become a debt spiral. The Federal Reserve's 2023 report on the economic well-being of U.S. households found 37% of adults couldn't cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing. 3 months of your floor number moves you structurally out of that group. Rule 7. Never expand your lifestyle in the same quarter your income expands. Give it one financial quarter before committing any raise to a new recurring expense. The behavioral economics literature calls the automatic response to a raise hedonic adaptation, the immediate conversion of income increases into fixed cost increases. You get the raise, you sign the nicer lease, now you need the raise just to stay even. The floor moved, the raise disappeared. 1 quarter of sitting with the extra money isn't deprivation, it's the difference between a raise that compounds and a raise that evaporates. Rule 8. A 48-hour rule on any non-essential purchase above your discomfort threshold. Walk away. Come back in 2 days. If you still want it, buy it without guilt. If the desire faded, it was a signal, not a need. Most purchases that produce buyer's remorse were made without a pause. The pause is the policy. Research on purchase regret consistently traces it back to speed, not price. Rule 9. Spend freely on your top 3 priorities. Cut everything else without mercy. This is the opposite of across-the-board frugality, which fails because it treats a gym membership the same as a streaming service you forgot you had, as if all spending carries the same weight. It doesn't. What you genuinely value, fund fully. What you're indifferent to, eliminate entirely. The middle, spending money on things you wouldn't miss, is where financial stress is quietly manufactured, dollar by forgettable dollar. Rule 10. Analyze your finances once a week. Scan for fraud daily. Those are 2 different activities that are different activities. A daily 60-second scan, open the app, check for any charge that shouldn't be there, close it, is security, not analysis. It takes less time than making coffee. What you are not doing is studying your balance, second-guessing transactions, or making spending decisions at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. Save that for the weekly sit-down. Same day, same time, every week. Patterns are visible at weekly resolution. At daily resolution, you're just reading noise, and noise costs you sleep. Rule 11. Stop benchmarking your consumption against peers. Keep benchmarking your compensation. Those are 2 different activities that get collapsed into one habit. Knowing what your peers earn is a legitimate data. It informs salary negotiations, tells you whether you're being underpaid, anchors your market value. That comparison has a job. What doesn't have a job is watching someone's vacation reel and letting it silently reprice what your life is supposed to look like. According to a 2021 Schwab Modern Wealth survey, 35% of Americans said social media influenced them to spend money they hadn't plans to. Use peer data to price your labor. Don't use it to price your lifestyle. Rule 12. Every financial decision runs through one question. Does this increase or reduce my future options? A car lease that stretches your budget reduces options. A paid-off vehicle that frees up $600 a month increases them. A professional course that raises your income ceiling increases options. A second streaming service does not. You don't need a spreadsheet. You need one question asked consistently before money moves. Go back to those 2 people at the start. The difference between them isn't income, it isn't discipline. It's the number of decisions their financial system demands from them every week. The person earning $91,000 makes dozens of small financial micro-decisions daily. Which account to use, which card to reach for, what that balance means for the rest of the month. That cognitive overhead accumulates. It becomes the Sunday night dread. The person earning $54,000 made 12 decisions once, built a system around them, and stopped making those decisions at all. The rules run automatically. The anxiety doesn't have a foothold. Here's the cycle that produces the second outcome. Fewer decisions leads to fewer mistakes. Fewer mistakes leads to more savings. More savings leads to perceived control. And perceived control is what the APA found actually drives financial stress down, not income level. The opposite cycle runs just as reliably. More complexity leads to more drift. More drift leads to less savings. Less savings leads to more anxiety, and more anxiety leads to avoidance. Avoidance makes the complexity worse. Both cycles compound. The only variable is which one you start. If this reframed something you've been managing by feel, subscribe. Every week, the mechanics behind money, stress, and the systems shaping both. Each one gets you one step closer to running your finances instead of being run by them. Thanks for watching.